Best believe that I'm top 3. The only thing is I'm not 2 and I'm not 3. Put me anywhere of and they wonder it's not me. It's beef, we strut a nigga block, that's chopped cheese. No peace, the butterfly sting him, that's Ali. You reach, I teach him with the handle, that's Kyrie. Machines you hook like a Roman, that's IV. You a sheep, I'ma go, it's a difference, so watch me. You weak, all hooks, no punches, so block these. They mock me, I just show them how it goes. Try to stomach this thug life. They brain got the nose, bandana on the grip. All heads coming out the foe. Connected from Cali to New York, niggas, so let it go. Made for this. Nigga, I eat bars and drink flows, thinking you woke into your third eye peephole. Line for line, this shit too easy. It's like a free throw. Mastered the game too early. This bitch a cheat code. It ain't a game. These niggas lame. State bring a shame. If I'm with an officer, it's a number in his name. We ain't the same. You want the easy pass? Tell him change his lane. Shit, I've been through the fire. You can't stand the rain. Take an aim. Tell him runner he can try his best. Drive a car named after me. That's why I'm in the vet. Lamping these niggas once again, and I ain't break a sweat. Number one at everything I do. That's why I'm one west. The Lord is not the God of the dead, so when I die, coming back for my spot, so forever I'm top 3. Just tell him to watch this janitor with the mop stick. You gonna need a defensive lineman to block this. On point when I bomb shit, 10 for 10, I do not miss. I'm barking with a full bulldog, it is not mixed. They can see that my mind's sick. I don't write, I find shit. I don't like it, then I switch. If I touch it, it's diamond. Tell a bitch that I'm God sent. It ain't because my kicks is built like 5'6", 5'7", is my bitch. Dangerous, high risk. I lose it, get another one. You think I'm talking about a girl? I'm talking about another gun. We head now? Hey, look, it is what it is now. We don't fuck with the house niggas. We burn the crib now. I'm ahead now. And I hope they can hear now. I don't care if you think it's it, nigga. I don't fear clouds. Silences make it sound like raindrop. That's a firestorm. Get the job done in the view and get fired on. If you niggas standing for nothing, what you dying for? If you put real with real, that's how I was born. Walking this bitch ready for war. I'm in riot form. I want these niggas to see me flex. That's why I am armed. I shouldn't live in the crib, nigga. I should buy a farm to go through this shit so effortless. Best believe that I'm top 3. Only thing is I'm not 2 and I'm not 3. Best believe that I'm top 3. Only thing is I'm not 2 and I'm not 3. Best believe that I'm top 3. Only thing is I'm not 2 and I'm not 3.
Lord Christ, can you hear me, please?
Connor, I can hear you. You through playing videos?
You want another one?
No, I'm all good if you all good.
That's all.
Okay, most on Christ. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. All right, hey, Yabashim Yashab, Brakathom, all the brothers, Shalom, Yahal, Shamar, Lathan, Bashim Yashad, all the sisters. Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. This is the Friday night Lashawan Qadash class. We'll break down the Hebrew from a linguistics perspective. Tonight we're gonna get into, we're gonna break down the Hebrew. We're gonna break down the Hebrew as we've been doing for the past couple weeks in Bible Hub. We're gonna read the verses that we're gonna be reading in Sabbath service, so that brothers and sisters or brothers especially, but brothers and sisters are prepared for, for Sabbath service, for what we're gonna be reading into. So that we can learn and understand our language, so that we can learn how to read, write, and get familiar with, and all of those things with our language. All right. So last week if you was in Sabbath service, we started off, I believe, in Genesis chapter 8 and verse 13, and then we ended off in Genesis chapter 10 and verse 10. This week we're gonna pick up in Genesis chapter 10 and verse 11. All right, we're gonna go ahead and read through till Genesis chapter 11 and verse 30. And if you got any questions or comments on what we're gonna be reading tonight, you go ahead and put it in the chat, and I might not get to them. I might not get to them during the class when you're watching it, but if I don't, then I'll respond to it after, and then you'll get a notification in your social media inbox with the answer. So you can just you'll get a notification, and then you'll click on it, and then I'll give you the answer then. All right. But But if you got any questions or comments on any particular topic, whether it's on or off topic, whether it's on these verses or has nothing to do with these verses, you can go ahead and put it in the chat or whatever the case is, and we'll get your questions answered. All right. As you're watching, you're going to want to have Bible Hub open so that you can read along. All right. So that you can know what's going on. You know what I mean, it's one thing to hear the language being spoken, but if you don't know what's being said, or if you're not able to follow along, then you're just gonna be lost. All right. It's been a pretty fast-paced class for the past couple weeks as well. You know what I mean, but brothers have been stepping up, especially the younger brothers. Brothers have been stepping up and been able to keep up. So it shouldn't be hard to keep up. You just gotta put you know what I mean, you just gotta put that work in. You just gotta be committed to it and put that work in. All right. And if you put that work in and follow along, just read at your pace, then you'll be able to catch up or be able to keep up. But that's just how you're gonna be able to do it. There's really no other way. Like, you're not gonna be able to just sit in the background or be silent and not, you know what I mean, not follow along, not have Bible Hub open, which is why, as you can see, we got Bible Hub shared on the screen. The water, the Officer 500 Kahanga bar, you know what I mean, holding it down. In the, you know what I mean, in the school, we got the Bible Hub shared on the screen. You know what I mean? But we got it shared on the screen, but you want to have it in front of you so that you can keep up. All right. Otherwise, you are going to be lost. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Shouldn't be too long. If any brothers or sisters do want to participate, you can, you know what I mean, feel free to just, if a brother walk in, they grab the mic, you know what I mean, feel free to just talk into the mic. And, you know what I mean, you can go ahead and participate, read, or whatever you need to do, ask a question. Salaki, somebody was about to say something?
Not on this live, please.
Okay, no sweat. Well, you know what I mean, if you got any questions or comments, or you just want to participate, you go ahead and just say something. Pick up the mic and go ahead and do your thing. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So this is the book of Genesis, chapter 10 and verse 11 in the Hebrew. All right. So man ha-rataza ha-hawa'a ya taza'a ashawar wa ya bana ya nawa wa'ath ra-khabath ayar wa'ath kalach salakia. All right. Verse 12. And a lot of these words, again, as you read it, like, reading is a very useful tool when you're trying to learn the language. You know what I mean? You start to see words over and over and over. So, I mean, I'm not going to go back and break down the last verse unless, you know what I mean, unless a brother or sister needs me to. But there's a lot of words that we just see over and over that should, over time, if you're reading, should be muscle memory. All right. Verse 12, wa'ath, Salakia wa'ath, rasan, bayan, nayanawa, wabayan, kalak, hawa'a, ha'ayar, hagadalah. All right. And I know it's a couple words. It's a couple words that might be new in verse 12. All right. So ayar. So the last line, hawa'a, ha'ayar, hagadalah. There might be some new words, but they're words that you probably are. Even if you don't know you're familiar with them, you're familiar with them. And I'm gonna break it down. So hawa'a, we just we just broke down, I believe, last week. So hawa is how you would say he or it, or in this case, it says that, but that's how you would say he or it formally. And then ayar is city. Ayar is city. All right, it's the root word in Jerusalem in Hebrew. So Jerusalem in Hebrew is Yerushalayim. Uh, so Yara is a irregular. It's an irregular. Um, it's an irregular root word in Jerusalem. So Yerushalayim is city of peace. All right. So Shalom is peace. Yara is an abbreviated version for less, or for lack of better explanation, of cities. Ayar. All right. So Yerushalayim is Jerusalem, which is city of peace. All right. But Ayar is the root word. Ayar is city. Right. And then Haggadol, Haggadalah is the great. All right. Ha meaning the. Gadol is the root word meaning great. Like in Captain Gadol Har. Remember, I tell brothers all the time, it's very beneficial to learn brothers' names and learn the breakdowns. When you meet a brother, especially at Passover, when you meet a brother, just ask them what their name is, what their name means, and they'll just tell you. And because you love this brother or sister, because you know this brother or sister, that's an easier way to learn. You know what I mean? It's an easier way to learn root words and you know what I mean, things like that, because you can relate it to a brother rather than just reading endless hours of Bible Hub, where those type of things can kind of just you can forget them easier than if you associate it with a brother. But Captain Gadol Har means mighty mountain or great mountain. Gadol meaning great or mighty, and Har is mountain or hill, depending on the context. So whenever you see Gadol in the scriptures, it's talking about great, like we're looking at right now, and then Har in the scriptures is mountain or hill. And we saw Har a lot last week, dealing with Moses, or not Moses, Salakia, dealing with Noah's Ark, right? Talking about the water that was over the mountains. When the Most High flooded the earth, right? So you saw Haharyim a lot, the mountains, talking about the water that exceeded the mountains. All right, but I just wanted to throw that in there. All right, moving on to verse 13. But again, just to help brothers out, you know what I mean, it'll be very beneficial for brothers to just ask brothers their name. Ask brothers their name, ask them what they mean, so that when you see certain words in Bible Hub, you just remember it because you know this brother. You know their spirit, and you know what their name means, and it'll be easier for you to remember what this word is. All right. Verse 13, Salakia. Wa Matazarium. All right. We see Matazarium. We see Matazarium in the prayer, so that should be real easy. Wa Matazarium. Wa Salakia Walad, or Salakia Yelad. Yelad means to bear or beget. You know what I mean? Talking about childbirth, or someone having a child, right? So especially when you're looking at lineage, you'll see Lad or Yelad or some variation of Yelad. You'll see Lad or Yelad. But keep that in mind. Ath Lawadium Wa'ath Ainamium Wa'ath Lahabium Wa'ath Napathakium. Salakia. Verse 14. Wa'ath Patharasium Wa'ath Kasalachium Ashar Yataza Awa Mashum Palashathium Wa'ath Kapath Kapatharium 15 Wakanayan Yalad Akaza Yadun Bakarwa Wa'ath Chath. All right, verse 16. Wa'ath Haya Bawasya Wa'ath Ha Marya Wa'ath Ha Gargashya Salakia 17. Wa'ath Ha Chal Salakia Wachalya Wa'ath Ha-Irakya Wa'ath Hasayanya. Verse 18. Wa'ath Ha-Arawadya Wa'ath Ha-Tazamarya Wa'ath Ha-Kamathya Wa'achar Napataza Slakia Wanap Slakia Napatazawa Masha Pakawa. There go that long word we read last week. Mashapakha, family. Mashapakha, Mashapakha. All right. We saw that long phrase last week. All right. Salakia. Mashapakhawa. Hakana Anya. All right. Verse 19. Wayahaya Gabowo Hakana Anya Mataza Yadan Salakia. Ba'aka Garora Id Aiza Ba'aka Sadama Wa'ai Mora Dama Tazabayum Id Lashai. Verse 20. All right. Looks like we're reading another lineage. So during Sabbath service, that first reader might have it a little bit easy. You reading reading lineages, you just kind of repeating the same words over and over. So you'll see in lineages, especially, you see lad, yelad, which means to bear. You'll see as, because it's just we discovered last week. It's talking about it's as just means denoting proximity, meaning two things are close, or it's joining two things, like we always talk about. All right, so you'll see ah when it's talking about somebody's children. So this person had this person, wa'ath this person, wa'ath this person, wa'ath this person. You'll see that a lot in lineages. All right. All right, so verse 20. Allah, Banya, all right, Chum. All right, so it looks like we're talking about the lineages of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. All right, so we just went through the lineages of Ham. All right, after the flood, we talking about lineages. The lineages of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. All right, so we just went through the lineages of Ham. All right, here go another. All right, so this next phrase, right? According to their families. All right, this is another one that brothers and sisters may get discouraged on. But again, like we looked at last week, it's really not hard. It's not difficult. You just look at the four steps that we always take. You look at the root word, prepositions, possessives, and intensives, and that's how you break down any phrase. So this phrase has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters.
If I may,
Khan, Baba Kasha.
I'll take a shot at it.
Baba Kasha, go ahead.
La Mashapachthum.
Almost. Let me see.
Mashapachthum. Hum.
Mush. Go ahead.
La
Khan.
Mashapachthum.
Mashapakach. Or Slaki Mashapakach. Or Slaki Mashapak. Mashap.
Thumb.
Slaki, you was right. Salaki, I'm having a hard time hearing.
Thought I was tripping.
Salakia. Now you was absolutely correct. Most High Christ. La Mashapach Thumb. Absolutely correct. So the la just means you want to break it down or you want me to go ahead?
So the la just means well in this is going to be there, correct?
La.
Or la two.
Khan.
Okay, two, and then the mashapa.
Khan.
Mashapa. So okay, mashapa would be mashapa. Okay, that's going to be according. Mashapa.
La.
Okay, family.
La. Khan.
Okay.
Mashapach is family.
Yeah, Mashapach is family, and then
Khan.
Thumb is just the plural to the families, correct?
La.
Okay.
It should be on the board.
Oh, Salakia. Okay. Let's see.
The last one.
Your. Salakia. I don't think it's on there.
You looking at the top board?
A thumb.
Khan. Thumb is what?
Y'all. Or in this one, it would be there, correct?
There. It on the thumb is how you would say there or
Right.
them.
Right.
Khan. So y'all are there. So la to mashapak is families and thumb is there. So to their family is the translation.
Okay.
So la mashapak thumb.
So
to their family. Khan.
Mashapach families.
Khan.
And then thumb there. To their families. Okay.
Khan. And the water for you jumping in there.
No sweat, sir. No sweat.
So la next one is la shana Salakia. La Lashawan Thumb. All right, that's another one. All right, so just like we broke down the first one, La is two, Lashun is language. Lashun or tongue, which means language. And then thumb is there. So to their languages. Lashun thumb. La Lashun thumb. To their languages. All right. And I know it might be a little confusing, but the possessive is always at the end. Remember, possessives come at the end. All right. So when you so the literal translation, like you read it from an English perspective, you see la meaning to, lashun is language, and then thumb is there. So you would say to language there. But just remember, the possession comes at the end. All right. But if you want to translate it to English, it'll be to their language. But you just see the possession, who's it pertaining to? Me, you, they, them, us, we. You know what I mean? You'll see that at the end. All right. The next one is Ba Arataza Thumb. Same thing. Ba is in Arataza, land. Thumb is there, in their land. Ba Arataza Thumb. All right.
And if I may,
Come, Baba Kasha.
so real quick, I see, just because, speaking about, the sons of Ham, that's why we're seeing their a lot, their languages, their land, their families. And so, it's real easy to pick up that thumb now.
Right. Yeah, Khan. Absolutely. And that's really all it is. Like, you made an excellent point. Like, really, like, once you pick up the context, like, it's not so hard to read the rest of the way. Like, that's really what it is. It's just picking up the context. Once you know the context, then you can understand the language a lot easier.
Right.
But not the water. That was an excellent point. Let me see. Baga waya Salakia Bagaya hum. All right. Okay, that's what's on the board. Salakia hum. That's what we were looking at last week. Salakia. So Bagaya hum is the same thing. All right. So Ba means enter on. Gauya is nations. And hum is there in their nations. Ba Gauya hum. All right.
So, Shalaki, if I may one more time.
Go Baba Shah.
So I'm seeing a Y in there. Bagawayatham. Is that correct? Because I'm seeing that Y. Is that because I don't hear you pronouncing it, but I see it. So is that something that I don't know? Like in the English language, you got like what do they call them? Silent, characters or whatever.
Khan, no, that's not. I'm pronouncing it. It might be hard to hear. It's like GAW.
GAW.
Khan, Gaul. That's what I'm saying. Gaul. GAW.
All right, no sweat.
So Gauya. And then hum. Bagawiyah. In Yiddish they would say goy.
Okay, no, so I got you.
But it's Gawiyah. I'm trying to do it dramatically. Gawiyah.
Okay, I hear the one now. I hear it. It's a lot.
Okay.
Bagawiyah from
Bagawiyah hum.
Oh, hum. Right. Bagawiyah hum. Bagawiyah hum.
Then verse 21. All right, let me look through it real quick. Okay, so we about to go through Shem's lineage. All right, and it's important. Like while we on the topic, it's important. The Most High in these scriptures, these lineages are very important. Like when I would glance at the Bible, like I wasn't really too familiar with the Bible coming up. But when I would look at it, like I would see all these lineages, and I would be like, all of this isn't important. They really could have just left this out. But knowing now, you know what I mean, coming in the home of the truth, knowing now how important lineages are, like you can see how important lineages are because, you know what I mean, anytime you see a family or a bloodline or anything like that, like you see the detailed lineage. You see it. You know what I mean? So that's what we're looking at right now. So whenever you see lineages in the Bible, especially right now, because the Most High just flooded the earth. You know what I mean? And the only people who was alive was Noah and his 3 sons. All right. So now you're going through the lineages of who's still alive. All right. So we just went through Ham, and now we're going through Shem. All right. So Waya, it's like a Wa Lashum Yalad, remember that Yalad is going to be there in all those lineages. And it's talking about Lad just means born or to bear, meaning a man had a son. That's all that means. Yalad. Gum, Hawa'a, Abaya. We already know Abba means father. Abaya, Kal, Banya, Ibar, Ach, it's like an Achya, Ach meaning brother. All right. The Ya just indicates possession. All right. That Ya, when you see it at the end, that Ya, just so it doesn't confuse you, it just indicates possession. All right. So when it talks about me or my, I know on those possessives, it says me or my. When it's talking about you, or when you're talking about what I possess, that Yah means me or my. But when you don't see me or my in the scriptures or in the English translation, it just indicates possession, which is why you see it used as a buffer, which is you know what I mean, if that helps. I just wanted to give that breakdown. But Achya, so we're talking about you know what I mean, sons and brothers. So you saw behind son, right? We're talking about who belongs to who. So the lineage is Shem or Shem in the Hebrew, right? So it said Abaya, all right? So this father is the father of these sons that we're about to talk about. Kal, Banya, right? Ibar, Achya, Yapath, Ha, Gadawal, right?
If I may, real
Like
quick.
what you, Baba Kasha.
So going back to Akya, so like if I was speaking and I said Akya, I would be saying my brother, right?
Khan.
You're talking about possess, but because we're speaking about someone in the third person, or speaking about someone else, that's why it's Akya is the brother.
It means so when because we're talking about a lineage,
Right.
we're talking about something belonging to some, or we're talking about family that belongs to a certain family, and we're
Okay.
running down a lineage. And just what I've noticed in the scriptures is that in the lineages specifically, when we're talking about family, it'll say it'll have a Yah behind each part of the family. So like the brother of, or like so this is the lineage of Moses, the brother of this person, the father of this person. It'll have Yah behind it, indicating possession. That's what I've noticed.
Right. Okay.
But usually, if you use it, typically it'll like as a Yah, or if you put a Yah behind something, typically it'll just mean my. But that Yah just indicates possession across the board.
I understand.
Okay. Verse 20, verse 22. Banya Shum. All right. Right. And like you, I think like exactly what you just said, like third person,
Right.
because it's somebody talking about somebody else's lineage.
Right. And that's kind of what I was picking up just reading. Like again, when you read, everything is in context, and so that's what I kind of picked up, because like I said, I know Akya. If I was saying it, I would be saying my brother, but I noticed, because it was talking about their families, there, then I kind of noticed it was a little different. So that's what I was just trying to get an understanding of that.
Khan. That's exactly what that is. That's why it starts off in verse 22. Banya Shum, the sons of Shum.
Right.
Indicating that possession. And Ayalam wa Ashawar wa Arapa Salake. Salakia, Arapakashad, Wa Lawad, Wa Arum. Right. And I just wanted to mention also, in this lineage, when we was talking about Shem, we mentioned, what was his name? Damn, I should have said something when we crossed it. Eber, Salakia, or Ibar in the Hebrew. Ibar means ancient, which is the name for the Hebrew language. And Hebrew in the Hebrew language is Eber, right? So that's where that comes from, right? Which is where the name of our language comes from the son of Shem, who was Eber, which means ancient, right? And then you see in at the end of verse 22, it says Aram, which is where Aramaic comes from, which is also referring to it. I believe it's referring to the ancient Hebrew. All right.
I believe you're correct.
But it's all the same thing, and they're all in the same lineage. You know what I mean? Shemites speak Hebrew, right? The lineage of Shem, you know what I mean? The descendants of Shem. Especially those who held on to the culture, you know what I mean? Just like Officer Tapazar was bringing out during Sabbath service, I believe a couple weeks ago, he was talking about if you go through the lineages of people, like they'll be like, and this person begat this person, and then he had sons and daughters. That person who's named in that lineage kept the culture, and then the rest of them didn't. We was talking about that before the flood. But just like then, you know what I mean? There are some sons and some families after a person, you know what I mean, who belong or who came from a person who kept the culture, and there are some who didn't. All right, so Shemites, there are some who kept the language. So, I mean, there are some who kept the language, who kept the culture, and there were some who didn't. But I just wanted to point out that that's where Eber and Aram come from. Or Hebrew and Aramaic, they both are referring to the Hebrew.
If I may, real quick.
Baba Kasha.
So in the scriptures, like it talks about Abraham, it says that he was from the land of, was it the land of Eber? Is that correct?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh no, I was just going to ask because I think it's Eber, and I was going to say, does that mean that he was from the land of ancient, or what does that mean? Because let me see.
No, Salakia. I think that name came from Abraham's lineage, and it was just a name that was common.
Okay, all right.
I think that's what it is, if I'm not mistaken, because it does. Now that you just brought it up, it does sound more. That sounds more accurate. But I believe it was just a name that was used before.
Yeah, I think you're right. Salaki, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Salaki.
No, I'm glad you did, because what you said was more accurate. It just draws my memory. So the water for that. But that's where that comes from. That's where that comes from. It just means Eber means ancient, and Aram is the son that came, or it's the son that came after Eber. So because our captivities have gone through a couple periods of development, like you see, we got the ancient Hebrew, and then we got the Assyrian Hebrew. Brothers might call the Hebrew Aramaic, but that's where that comes from. They're just trying to correlate that to the name that came after Eber.
Yeah, Salaki, if I may, Abraham was for the land of Ur, Salaki, not Eber. It was Ur, Salaki.
Okay, Most High Christ. But I do think that name was used before, and during in Abraham's lineage.
Yeah, no, it was definitely in Abraham's lineage. Eber was Eber was he was the great grandson. So Salah lived and begat Eber 403 years and begot sons and daughter. Yeah, so Eber was, from that, was from, it was an ancestor of the Ishmaelites and the Israelites, so it was
Okay, cool.
was a great grandson. I'm gonna find it to you, but yeah, so Eber was, he was in the lineage, Salah.
Come, Most High Christ. Okay, yeah, that was yeah, that, and he came from, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm 100% sure that he was from the lineage of Abraham earlier before this, and just like a lot of names, what I mean, just like a lot of names like Yahweh or what we call Jesus or Joshua in the English. Jesus will be the Greek translation, but that's a common name. John, you know what I mean? Just like
So
all of those cons, like it.
yeah, so Eber was a great grandson of Noah's son Shem. So he was Eber, was the great grandson of Shem.
Okay, Most High Christ. Most High Christ. Got you. I would have to go back and make. You said he was in the lineage of Abraham, though, right? Or you?
Yeah. He was he was an ancestor, of Abraham. So he's in that
Okay,
lineage.
got you. Okay, no sweat. Okay, got you. Okay, but he might have been it. Okay, yeah, but okay, no sweat. Okay, Most High Christ. But though, long story short, those names Eber in Aramaic, or Slakia Eber in Aram, or Slakia Eber pertains to the language. Aram is what brothers will try to use to. A brother will call the Hebrew Aramaic, but it's still talking about the Hebrew. All right, but Eber just means ancient, which is Hebrew in the English. All right, so verse 23, right? Wa banya aram I Slakia I wataza wa Chawal wa Gathar wa Mash, all right, wa Arapakashad Yalad Ath Shalach wa Shalach Yalad Ath Ibar Wala Ibar Yalad Shanya Banyam Sham Ha Achad Palag Kaya Baya Salakit Bayam Yawa. All right. Bayam Yawa. Ba meaning in. Salakia. Bayam Yawa. Salakia. Ba meaning in. Yum day. Ya being a buffer, like we was talking about earlier, right? Ya being just a buffer between the root word and the possessive, and then wa. Good night. Wa being the possessive, that means he, his, or it. So by yum yawa, in his days, right? Napalaga harataza washam ak yawa, same thing. Ak meaning brother. Ya being the buffer between the root word and the possessive, and then wa being a possessive, right? So ak yawa, ak yawa. All right. So a lot of times, like when we speak to one another, we don't really use the buffer. Like I believe when Officer Khan was talking about earlier, like if he was saying my brother, he would say ak ya. Well, okay, you wouldn't use a buffer using yeah, but let me see. So if you were saying your brother, so you would say ak ka, right? What we would want to say is ak ka because we're so used to using the possessive, just using a root word and attaching a possessive to it. All right, but using a buffer, you would say ak yaka. You know what I mean? If you were saying our brother, you would say ak yanawa, right? Just using that buffer. But we're not really. Point is, we're not really familiar with it because we don't use it in speech a lot. Like when we talk to one another, we don't use it in speech a lot. But that's how the buffer is used. So ak right here, where we're reading is ak yawa to say his brother. To say her brother would be ak yaha, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. To say our brother would be ak yanawa. To say your brother would be ak yaka. To say their brother, it would be ak yathum. Let me think. But you get the point, right? That ya just goes between the root word and the suffix,
Con.
right? That's all that is. You was about to say something?
No, I was saying con.
Okay, most high Christ. All right, and then the last word is yakwatan. All right. And if you notice, just real quick on that last word, if you notice, a lot of times when you see a J in the English, like when you read the English and go to the Hebrew, wherever you see a word or a name that starts with J, it'll start with a Yah. That's because the J wasn't invented in the English alphabet until I believe like the 1400s or something like that. You know what I mean? And so that means it absolutely doesn't exist in the Hebrew. All right. But a lot of times when you see the J in the English, it'll be replaced with a Yah, right? Or it'll start with a Yah. All right. Verse 26. You got Wa Yakwatan Yalad Ath Ala Mo Wada Wa'ath Shalak Wa'ath Khataza Rum Salakia Khataza Rumwa
So, like,
Wa'ath. Baba Kashak, go ahead.
so if I may, so that lama wad lama wad, so it's like two D's right there. So when they're together like that, you don't pronounce the second one. It's just lama yad. I'm
Al
sorry. Lama wad.
La Salakia Lama Wadad, like Dad.
Okay, I got you. Okay. La mawadad. Okay, no sign of Christ. Salaki.
You know, so uh, so I'm gonna read from there. Okay, so Lama Wadad Wa'ath Shalap Wa'ath Ha Tazarum. It's like a Ha Tazarumwath Wa'ath Yerach. Like I'm trying to remember. That name sounds familiar. Let me go back, see what that means. Yerach. I believe there's a Yerach in the school, right?
So
Yerach.
is that Yorach or Yorah?
Yerach with the cha at the end.
Okay, no sign of Christ.
Let me see. Salakia.
Sometimes
I ain't
I
gonna.
get those characters.
Salakia.
I said sometimes I get those characters mixed up. But to answer your question, I do believe it is a brother in the school, named Uriah, or that has
Okay.
Uriah in his name.
Okay, it sounds familiar, or I think it's definitely in the one of the prayers. It's in one of the prayers. I'm just trying to remember.
We got a brother named Yara Gabar, Yara, Nathan Yara. So
Oh, it has a cha at the end though. Yarach.
Salagi, Yara.
I think it's in Psalms 83. It's Wayarach Balayala. In that portion of the scripture, I'm not really familiar with it like that, but it does jog my memory. But I'm only saying that because again, like those type of things, like remembering, like being a part of Sabbath service, remembering prayers, trying to get in, you know what I mean, try to remember brothers' names, like all of those things are learning tools that you can use to help you understand the language. So I'm just like, even though like I can't remember off the top of my head, it's like kind of jogging my memory.
Mm.
So like, okay, so now like I can't really remember, but I do know where to go. I know where either I know to go to one of the prayers. I know to go to Psalms 83 and find that portion, and now I can find out what this word means or what this name means in the scriptures. But the point is, it's a learning tool, and it's a good learning tool. Like you can get real overwhelmed trying to learn the language or trying to memorize the language. Uh, just trying to remember every single word or trying to, you know what I mean? Trying to write down every single word. It could get real tedious trying to learn the language. But if you relate it to something that you care about, like if it's tedious reading, if it's tedious writing, then the least you could do is give a damn about your brothers. You know what I mean? Or give a damn about you know what I mean? Give a damn about these prayers. Like Psalms 83 is a heavy prayer. You know what I mean? So if it's tedious reading and trying to memorize everything, it'll be very helpful memorizing names and in the prayers and remembering those type of things so you can build your vocabulary. Slakia. But that's all that was. I'm just talking out loud as I'm going through it. Salakia. All right, Salakia. All right, so verse 27. Wa'ath hado warum. So like your wa'ath hada warum. Wa'ath awazal. Wa'ath dakwala. Right, verse 28. Wa'ath iwabal. Wa'ath abayam Allah. That's like Abayam Allah. Okay. Wa'ath Shaba'ah 29. Wa'ath Awapar. Wa'ath Hawa Yala. Wa'ath. And also real quick on that Hawa Yala. All right. It also helps to kind of like we read in the Hebrew workbook and textbook. They kind of impose vowels in certain sounds. So when you see a V or a va, what they call a va, a lot of times you can assume that there's a wa there. So that'll also help you read the language as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So cha wayala, like in the English it says havila, right? But when you see a V, you could just automatically know that that's a wa, right? And that's just from reading the third page of the Hebrew workbook and textbook. Like if you just read that page right there, like that page right there cuts a lot. Like that page right there just cuts the so-called small hats, you know what I mean, in those synagogues that we see today that's portraying our culture. That just cuts them and just cuts them out of our culture and shows clear cut that they're not part of this culture. All right.
And if I may,
but just knowing
finish what you're
Slack.
going to say, Slack.
Oh no, that was it. That was it. Slacky.
No, and I was gonna say, like if you Google, Yiddish, it'll tell you, that, you know, the paraphrase it that is as it's mixing, the German language with the Hebrew language. You know what I'm saying? So,
Con,
like, what does German have to do with Hebrew? So that just lets you know,
con.
them people, they wanted to hold on to their language as well and mix it, with this holy tongue. You understand?
Right,
And that's
right,
where you get those
exactly.
V's, those V's and those miscaposts and all that, whatever, because they're trying to, keep their culture and then mix it with the holy language. Salaki.
Right, right. It's exactly like what you just said was so heavy. What you just said was so heavy, and that just like it just goes to show like all of these things just make it easy. Like our job isn't hard as priests. The thing that make it hard is trying to get our people to see it. But like once you see it and once you understand it, like it's not hard. Like it's not hard to see how, because like you just said, like even like they'll even denounce like the book I just referenced was written by Harvard or what was it, Yale scholars,
Mm-hmm.
which is an oppressive school. Like they tell on themselves and say, okay, this isn't our language. Like you read the book, the 13th Tribe, like it breaks down the history of how they ended up putting their hands on our culture in the first place. Like they came from, like you said, Germany.
Right.
Like they were trying to. There was a whole war going on between the neighboring countries. Like I believe Germany is right between Russia and the Middle East,
Khan.
and there was a war between Russia and the Middle East. The Northern Europeans debate or trying to spread Christianity by the sword, and the the Southern Eurasians, the so-called Middle Easterns, they're trying to spread what's it called, Muslim culture by the sword, and they in the middle, they just held on to the first five books of the Bible, because Christianity, they threw away the law and the so that they can take that part where they took that part to gain neutrality. So like you read all these history books, you read the 13th tribe, you go into Google like you said, uh and you read the third page of the biblical workbook and textbook, and they just telling themselves like black people didn't write these things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're telling on themselves because this culture don't belong to them. Like this belongs to us. So like the hardest part of our job is getting blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to understand it. But once we understand that this is our culture and it belongs to us, then it's up from there. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, our nation, has become, a nation, to follow, whatever our oppressor does and whatever our oppressor says, And so it's
Uh,
like we've been brainwashed. And even though we have our own, we don't even want to take hold of our own. We got our own language, our own culture, our own way of life. And we don't want to take hold of it because, we're so, brainwashed, with our oppressor. And, whatever he say goes.
con. And that's what make it so hard. Like exactly what you just said. Like it's just that brainwashing, that
And,
brainwash. Just Slakia, you about to go on?
no, I would say in our language, I mean, it's the holy tongue. The holy tongue.
Right.
No other nation has, any language, that's set apart like that. No, like it's the holy tongue, like the language that the Most High gave to the children of Israel, and we don't even want to take that. It's a lot.
Con. Yeah. It'll be a, what I mean, like it'll. What you said, what you said was so heavy, and that's why we teach this class tonight. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes it so. That's why this class is necessary, and it's hard. It's real easy to like kind of be discouraged to be a part of. Like it's easy to be discouraged to be in the Lashawan Qadash class to participate and do all of that, which is why the water again for for holding it down as I'm under the weather. But it's hard for brothers and sisters to want to be a part of it because like we done learned all these oppressors language and now we got to learn this other language that's not like that's
But
not popular to use, especially in its correct form.
right.
You know
And
what I mean? So it's like, oh, it's like you go ahead.
No, Slack. And what's heavy is, we'll take the time to learn anybody else's language. We'll take the time, to learn, you know, Spanish. We'll take the time to learn Arabic. We'll take the time to learn, Mandarin. We'll take the time, to learn. We'll take the time, to learn any language, but this language, that the Most High gave to Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans.
Right. No, that's heavy right there because it's heavy right there because the Hebrew is easy. Like the Hebrew, like you can learn the Hebrew in 4 weeks. I guarantee you. See, you sit in Lashawan Qadash class and you're diligent for 4 weeks, you're gonna be reading it by the 4th week. I guarantee it. I've seen it before. Like I wouldn't have said it if I didn't see it. But like you said, like we'll put in the due diligence. We'll get what's it called, Rosetta Stone and
Right.
all these apps and try to learn these oppressors' languages because we think it makes us exotic and cultured and all of that. But really, like our language is what makes us cultured because this is our culture. You know what I mean? And that's all we teaching tonight. You know what I mean? Just how to get our culture. So like you go ahead.
No, I was saying if I may, all, like our brothers, they go into prison and the first thing they want to learn is Arabic. And Arabic, it's a kind of similar language, to our language, in a way, because they're so close to us, and as far as relatives or whatever, they're so close to us, so their language is close, and we'll take the time, and they'll alhamdulillah, you know what I'm saying, and all that. They'll speak, they'll learn that, that Arabic real quick. What you tell a brother, they're Israelites, and their language is the holy tongue, the Lashawan Qadash, and they turn the other way and run. And that Arabic language is a little bit more difficult, to learn. Like you said, the Hebrew is easy to learn. That Arabic, listen, I lived in, Kuwait for 5 years. And listen, it's going to take a little bit more than 4 weeks to learn that language.
It's just to that point, like it's a like what you just said was heavy. Like Arabic is just a bastardized version of Hebrew. Like you take the phrase Assalamu alaikum.
Right.
It's like if you were to say it in that means peace. It means it's a greeting. Like you're basically saying like you're wishing peace on somebody.
Peace be unto you.
Khan.
Right.
But even in Arabic, like that's incorrect because they're like you said, like that was the brother of Isaac.
Right.
Right. And you know what I mean, they're very close relatives, so the languages are similar. But like in the ancient language, like you would say it is Shalom Allah ka.
Right.
Right. So would be Shalom would be peace, and then Laka would be to you.
Right.
But they say Assalam alaikum, which is y'all. Come is how you say y'all.
Right.
So like they saying like Muslims or like Arab they say Assalamu alaikum to each other, but like they say it to like one person, but they're saying it out of context. Like come implies that you're talking to several people, but like like it's so similar to Hebrew, like you saying, but like it's just out of context because they're like you said, like they're not the same people.
And it would be very similar, to the Germans or the so-called, short hats or whatever, putting their own twist on the language, and it's no different than the Arabics taking it and putting their own twist on the language. Everybody has to have their own, but it derives, it's taken from the Hebrew language and just putting their own
Con,
twist, to belong to their own nation.
con, con, like we're trendsetters. Like that's all this is saying. Like exactly what you're saying. Like we're trendsetters. Like everything that these other nations that are similar to our language, it comes from us, from what the Lord gave us, because we're the trendsetters. The Most High, like it says in Deuteronomy, I can't remember if it's 4:6 or 7:6. But we're the Most High chose us to be a special people. Above all nations of the earth, so that these other nations can look at us and see that we're great. We're the trendsetters because the Most High made us these trendsetters. But like we sitting there trying to join ourselves to these other nations, and the whole time they mocking us.
And what's heavy about what you're saying is because today, all we want and all, Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans talk about is having their own,
Con,
having our own, land, having our own, bank, and having our own this and having our own that, when we got our own culture, our own language. And we don't want that. We want the small things. We don't even consider, what I'm saying, the you know the we don't even consider having things that are much greater than that. It's a lot.
con. That's heavy. That just it just brings it full circle. Like we wanted our own for so long, but we haven't wanted our culture for so long.
Right.
And us wanting our own, but not wanting our own culture, has made us adapt to our oppressor's culture and try to make it our own. Like we try to make Christianity our own. We try to make, we try to make Muslim, the Muslim culture our own. We try to make all these other cultures our own, and that's exactly why Black Wall Street didn't stand. That's why Rosewood didn't stand, because we had our own, but we were living after the cultures of these other nations. So it just goes full circle. The only way to truly have our own is to come back to our own culture. You know what I mean?
Right, and that starts, with us, obeying our own gods. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what we do here in America, it's never going to work, if the Most High is not involved. You understand?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, we try to have our own of everything. We try to be, separate, and we try to, be different. But if the Most High is not involved, it don't matter what we try to do. It's never going to work. For Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, if the Most High is not the focal point, if He's not involved, nothing is going to work. I don't care what it is. So,
Con. No, that's heavy, and that's the point right there, brothers and sisters. That's it. You know what I mean? Like the priest just said, if the Most High is not the focal point, like it's clear cut in Deuteronomy chapter 28. If you follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, if you do what I told you to do, you'll have all these blessings. But if not, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Like what you said was so heavy, and it was just the bottom line right there. If the Most High is not the focal point, then it's going to fail. And that's what brothers and sisters need to realize. And I pray brothers like really heard that. You know what I mean? And locked in.
and I mean,
Slacky, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, and I was just gonna say, like what you just said was heavy. How you just brought out that scripture. That said all these curses are gonna come upon you. Like us, having to speak our oppressor's language is a curse.
Right.
And that's why it's so heavy, Commanding General Yohana, raising us up, bringing our culture back to us, because now, we're showing that we can, how to come out of these curses. And like I said, just speaking our oppressor's language, that's a curse in itself. So it's real heavy, on the Most High, giving us back our language and giving us an opportunity to learn our own language. And that's just heavy in itself. That's why this class is so important. And you do an excellent job, you know what I'm saying? You still there, priest?
It's like you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, Most High in Christ. Not the water to y'all brothers, you know what I mean? I couldn't do it without any of y'all brothers in Killeen, Texas, in South Texas, really, and really in the whole ICBK. I couldn't do it without none of y'all. So the water to y'all, I mean, I'm nothing but I'm just following y'all brothers. I was Salaki, I might have dropped off for a little bit because I was looking for that scripture in Deuteronomy 28, where it says
Deuteronomy 28.
Yeah, where it says that we'll basically be under another nation where we can't understand their language, that we understand not. Somewhere in that, something like that. But it just went right to your point. Like the Most High gave us our language, and we try to be a part of these other nations and try to learn their language. And like you said, that's a curse. You know what I mean? So like, all right, no sweat. The Most High gave us our language, and we don't want it. No sweat. We're gonna serve these other nations where we don't understand their language until we come back to our culture and come back to our language. It's like I say at the beginning of every class, like, you know what I mean, we can learn these scriptures, we can learn these breakdowns and all of that, or whatever the case is. But if you neglect the language, you're neglecting a huge part of your culture and identity. You know what I mean? And the whole point of what we're doing is to gain our culture and our identity back. So if you neglect the language, then you're neglecting a huge part of your mission if you're sincerely trying to do this work. And that's why you see all these other, you know what I mean, these other fake Israelite groups, they're just not, you know what I mean, they're just not successful in waking up our people because, I mean, they get rid of the Magun Dawadah, the shield of David, you know what I mean, the seal of Zion that identifies our people. You know what I mean? They negate the, you know what I mean, the Hebrew language, where they go from saying Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barakathum to Most High and Christ blessed, which sounds so effeminate and just fruity,
right,
for lack of better. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They take the garments off and put on t-shirts with fringes, and it's just, oh my God! They take the boots off and put on goddamn, you know what I mean, putting on flip-flops with no socks and whatever the hell. Like, you putting down your culture, like, that's what makes it so weak, because you just negating the entire, you know what I mean, you just negating the entire point of what we doing, which is to gain our culture to separate from these other nations. You know what I mean? So again, if you know what I mean, if you in the ICBK, I mean, you absolutely cannot. You should be in scripture breakdown class, brotherhood class, law class. But if you're getting all these breakdowns, building up your precept book and all of that, but you're negating the language, then you are doing your nation and yourself a huge disservice, because a huge part of gaining back your culture and identity is the language. You can't have your own culture and identity while speaking your slave master's language. You know what I mean?
So if
And Baba Kashas, lucky.
So that precept of Isaiah 28 and 11 and 12, it says, "For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people."
That's a good one, and it's that's a good one. That's not the one I'm looking for, but it goes to the point. It goes to the point that we you know what I mean, we have to speak, we have to talk to our people, you know what I mean, in a whole we have to teach our people in our oppressors' language. You know what I mean? And that's why it says at the like if you go to if you go to the book of Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha and you read the preface, it'll break down how our like what we saying in the English
Mm-hmm.
isn't quite as, you know what I mean, impactful as in the Hebrew. Like translating the Hebrew from our original language to the English isn't as impactful, you know what I mean, as reading it in the original language.
Right.
Because we're speaking a devil's tongue. So that goes right into the point. And that just goes to show, like, if you neglect, if you learn all these breakdowns and you do all this and that, and you know what I mean, you could understand the Bible from back to front. But if you negate the language, then you're doing your nation and you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Like it's like that's like half of the battle right there. Just learning the language, that's half of it right there.
So, if I may,
come, Bible Kashan.
I think it's Deuteronomy 28 and 49. It says, "The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand."
Yeah, that's the one right there. That's the one right there. And like that's exactly where we at right now. Like that's the whole point. That was the point that I was trying to bring out, and the water for finding that. But like we're in a nation, we're in a captivity where we don't understand these people's languages. Where America is a melting pot. You know what I mean? They speak all these languages, and instead of coming back to our culture, we try to learn all these other languages. We try to learn every, you know what I mean, African country's dialect and language and all of that. You know what I mean? Trying to be a part of Kemet. We try to learn Egypt. We try to learn what's it called? What's the Muslim one? The Slakia, go ahead.
Oh, you trying to say Egyptology?
No, I was thinking of the languages, the Arabic language. What is that? Arabic. I just said it.
He said Arabic language. What is that?
Salakia. But we try to learn Arabic. We try to learn every language that's in Africa, and Africa is divided, despite, you know what I mean, contrary to popular belief. Like we think that Africa is the motherland, and you know what I mean, all we got to do is make it over there, and we just gonna be back home. Like Africa is divided. They do not mess with each other like we think that they do. But we try to learn Nigerian and Ghanaian and all these different languages. We'll try to learn Hindu. We'll try to learn Mandarin. We'll try to learn all these languages. But the only language that we gotta really the one language that we gotta learn and understand, like we'll overlook it. You know what I mean? We'll even learn Yiddish, but Hebrew is what we need to learn, and that's really the whole point of the class. Learning Hebrew. You know what I mean? And that's the foundation of it all.
And if I may,
Baba Kasha, Salaki.
No, I was going to say just one more precept at Deuteronomy 28:36, where it says, you know, and God will lead you, Salaki, and the Lord shall. Let me see. Oh yeah, Deuteronomy 28:36, where it says, the Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers ever known. So when we came into America, we didn't know this nation. Our forefathers didn't know this nation. Not only did we not know this nation, we didn't know the language. We didn't know the culture. Like all this was foreign to us because we had our language, we had our culture. But, you know, like you said, because of our disobedience, the Lord said, okay, well, you're going to go to another nation, but this nation you nor your fathers have never known, which includes the language, the culture, and everything else that comes with it. Salah.
That's so heavy. That's so heavy, man. And it's so like we're so zealous. Like we're so zealous that we'll do it. Like we'll be dropped in the land that we don't know, that we are completely unfamiliar with, and we'll just grind to learn the language, to learn the culture. Like, you know what I mean? You know how many Hispanic brothers and sisters, and shout out to them because they are super zealous. You know what I mean? They know English and Spanish. They know two oppressors' languages, but they'll
Yeah.
come from one oppressor, and you know what I mean, coming from South America, learning the Spaniard language, and then come over here and then learn English. You know what I mean, and go hard to learn English. You know what I mean? They this is a land that they don't know. They don't understand anybody, and then within a couple years, they'll learn the language, so they'll be able to communicate with whoever has the money. You
No,
know what I
real.
mean? That's the type of people we are. We're zealous to learn the language of the people that we're around. So that, you know what I mean, for survival, for survival.
No, real
You know what I
talk.
mean? But you know what I mean? It's damn near hustling backwards. Like all we got to do is learn our language and our culture. Come back here.
And if I may,
Come, Baba Kasha, Salakia.
and that's just part of what comes with what we teach here at the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, for us to come together, gather together, O nation not desired, come together,
Come,
start keeping our culture, start keeping our language. So now we got our own thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like little Havana, or Chinatown in LA, all these different cities across where all these other nations, they come and establish state owned. If Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans come together, we can establish our own, which includes our
come.
language. You know what I'm saying? And I was about to make a point. What was I about to say? Salaki, it'll come back to me. But what you're saying, is heavy, because that's what we as a nation need to try to see. Like, we'll follow all these other nations in everything but coming together. We'll see the other we'll see the Koreans. Let's just say here in Killeen, Texas, we'll see all the Koreans come together, and form their community.
Right.
And we'll see, like I just brought up, little Italy, little Chinatown, all these other nations across the nation will come together in these different cities and build their own. But what Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans won't do is we'll copy every other nation and everything that they're doing, but we won't copy them and coming together, going out, and making money and bring it back to us and putting it in our community, keep it in our community, and things like that. We won't do that.
God. God. What you was it Slack? Y'all want to interrupt you. Was that it?
Oh, Salami.
It's like now what you said was so heavy, and like just imagine like the work ethic of the the Hispanics and the influence of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. I mean, if we just work together, like you saying, like they are able to learn these languages at an exponent. Like they good night. Like I said before, like these other nations, like these Hispanics, they able to learn. They speak Spanish, and then they come over here and they speak 2-3 different languages. You know what I mean? If we able to just work together and they able to just speak the language of our oppressors, and and we able to work together, like we can really be a force and we can really get the hell out of hell if we just work together. Like you said, if we had the same mentality as these other nations, who no matter what, like they coming together no matter what. Like it don't matter what's going on. Like who got the money? They care about themselves. Like they come over here, they get an opportunity, they employ themselves. But like it just goes to show, like with all this zeal with all this zeal and all of this intelligence and all of this influence that we got, if we don't give a damn about culture and we don't give a damn about our family, we don't put that first, then we're, you know what I mean, we're always going to be behind.
Absolutely. And if I may, real quick.
Baba Shah.
So my thought came back to me. It's just like all those people, who want to, say we're African and we come from Africa and Amun Ra and all these Egyptologists. What I don't hear none of them niggas, you know what I'm saying, trying to learn African. I'm not saying it don't exist, but you never hear nobody saying I'm studying the African language or we're speaking the African language. You know what I'm saying? So like.
And that's what I was saying before, like, because there is no African, like all these other countries in Africa, they're divided.
Right.
Like they don't speak the same language. Like the Ghanaians don't speak Nigerian. The Nigerians don't speak Egyptian. The Egyptians don't speak you know what I mean? They don't speak the same language. And there's, even within the countries, there's so many different
tribes.
I don't even know what to call them. Yeah, kind of tribes. Like there's so many different. Slacky, go ahead.
Go ahead, Slacky.
No, you good. You good.
No, go ahead. You were saying there's so many different tribes, Slacky.
No, that was the whole point. Like there's so many different divisions within divisions in there. You know what I mean? Within Africa, like you couldn't possibly learn that language because nobody in that country is on the same accord, but we're trying to join them. Salakia, go ahead.
No, I mean, like I said, what you're saying is heavy. Like it's just what we were talking about. Every different tribe over in Africa has a different language, a different dialect. You understand?
God.
But like I said, all these people who want to say that we are Africans. For one, you can't show not one drop of proof that we are Africans, and then for two, we're just speaking about the the language today. Today's a language class, and we're speaking about that, and it just dawned on me that I never ever heard in my life someone says that I'm studying the African language. And I'm not saying it don't exist. I'm not saying they don't, but what I'm saying is I've never heard it in my lifetime. A person says I'm studying African. Or me even hearing, someone that is not African speaking the African language. You feel me?
God. No, that's brothers. The only time brothers and sisters will say that they so-called learning the language is when they trying to read like the Egyptian, like I forget what they call it, but they trying to Oh, Slacky, go ahead.
The Book of the Dead, or something.
That too. What
or something like that.
It's whatever's on the walls in the caves, and they
hieroglyphs.
Yeah, and that's the difference. Like they say that's the difference between Egyptology and Kemet. But like that's the only way that that's the only reason why brothers and sisters would even try to read or try to understand the so-called their language if they're trying to be a part of that particular culture. But like again, like it just goes like Africa is so divided. Like it's so divided. Like so even if you learn that and you master it, boom, no sweat. There's still like 50 plus. There's so many other countries and so many other tribes in that particular area, in that particular continent, that don't agree to one another, that don't mess with one another. Like even when they come to America, like they still don't really mess with one another.
Right.
I mean, so like us trying to, like, even if we did, like you said, like we don't try to learn their language, and if we do, we're only doing it on a small scale. But even if we do master it on that small scale, like that's like 1% of the continent that we say that we try to that we come from.
Right.
But like to bring it full circle, like this belongs to us.
The
Like
whole
this
12
Hebrew
tribes.
belongs to us, and you can learn it. Or Salakia, what'd you say?
No, I was saying the whole 12 tribes. One language for all 12 tribes.
Khan, that's an excellent point. Like this language belongs to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and it unites us all. So there's no language barrier. You know what I mean? And
Contrary to what
it's
we've
so
been speaking about in Africa.
Khan, Khan, and you don't like you can. Whereas you would have to spend almost a lifetime trying to learn these other languages or try to be a part of these other cultures. You can learn the Hebrew in 4 weeks.
Right.
4 weeks. You can have a solid foundation in 4 weeks. And then the rest is just, you know what I mean? You can just add we can just add it to you. Just the little nuances, the you know what I mean, all those the little extra details, we can just add it to you. But in 4 weeks you can learn the Hebrew. It's not that hard. Like where was we at? In chapter
29. I think we finished.
chapter 29
Yeah, we finished
on
29.
that word or that the brother what are we is this we still in Shem's lineage, right?
Khan, I think we left off on, if I'm not mistaken, I thought we was at Yucatan. Let me see,
Uh
Watan.
let me
I think we hit
see.
that. That was the last one.
Okay, no sweat. Okay, yeah, okay, no sweat. All right, I'll go ahead at the verse to verse 30 then. So Salakia, let me catch up with you. All right. Waya Haya. All right. That's a very easy one, right? So Waya is just two prepositions two prepositions that means and he or Salakia. Uh yeah, and he. It's one of the stems. So waya, anytime you see waya, 9 times out of 10 it's a qual stem. So I believe it's 5 or 6 stems. Uh, waya is just the most, or the qual stem is the most popular one, and it usually starts with waya. It's like, was you saying something?
Last.
Okay, no sweat. But so waya and then haya. Haya means or Slakia, Yahaya means be. So why Yahaya? Oh wait. Sure. Oh Slakia, I'm tripping. Haya means be. So Waya Haya. Alright. So usually a qual stem is that's just the plain way to say something. All right. I have to break down the stems uh just to next time I'm in the school physically, I'll have to break it down. But you'll see waya in a lot of sentences or waya to start off a lot of phrases because of the qual stem. Just know that, and then once I break it down, it'll all make sense for all the stems. All right, so waya and then haya means be. Be was to become, all of those similar things. All right, and if you click the concordance code, it'll tell you all those things I just said. All right, so mawa shabum. All right, salakia. Mama sha'a ba'aka. It's like ba'aka sapara har. Right, that's what I was breaking down earlier. Har means mountain. Right. Ha Quadum, right? Ha Quadum just means the east. That's the last word in the phrase. All right. In verse 30. So Ha Quadum, like when we in Sabbath service, when we say Sar Wapanya Ha Quadum, Sar means turn, Wapanya means and turn, or Salakia. Slakia. Sar means turn. Wapanya means and face. Hakwadum means the east. And that's what we're looking at right now. Hakwadum. All right. That's something that we should be familiar with, but I just broke it down if you're not. Sar Wapanya Hakwadum. When you know what I mean, when we start cyber service, the brother will say Imadium, which means to stand, and then he'll say, you know what I mean, Sar Wapanya Hakwadum, brother will blow the horn, you know what I mean? And we'll go from there. But just so you know what we're saying, that's what that means. Hakwadum means the east. All right. That's a lot. Hey, go sit down. So Laki, I'm gonna do this last verse and then I'm gonna go ahead and close it. All right. So Allah Banya Sham La Mashapa Slaki Mashapakath Slaki Mashapakha Thum La Lashantum Ba Aratazatum La Gawiyahum. All right, and that was the thing that we read in Ham's lineage. All right, now we're talking about Shem's lineage. All right, so Shem means Shem or name or reputation. All right. La Mashapach Thum Mashapach Slakia Mashapach means family. So La Mashapach means to family, and then Thum means there. So La Mashapach Thum means to their family. La Lashun Thum to their language. La Lashun Thum to their language. Ba Arataza Thum in their land. Ba meaning in, Arataza meaning land, and Thum meaning there or them. And then La Gawiya Hum to their nations, to their nations. All right, so that's what we just broke down. All right, so we just read from Genesis chapter 10 and verse 11 all the way to 31. You know what I mean? Saturday Sabbath service, we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 10, verse 11, all the way to chapter 11 and verse 30. All right. You know what I mean? It's going to be the same thing that we just read tonight. It's going to be the same exact thing. I would advise brothers, Salakia, I would advise brothers to just read it. Just read it all the way through so that you're familiar with it, so that you can get familiar with the language too. Like that'll build your that will build your confidence. Like if you just read the Hebrew, it'll build your confidence and it'll build your ability to read and understand the language. All right. So when you get up on that podium and gotta read it, you'll already be prepared. And if you gotta attend, you know what I mean? If you're in Lashawan Qadash class, you'll be prepared for that as well. But if you don't read it, then you're going to get up there and be unprepared. You're going to be unfamiliar. It's going to be the first time. You don't want the first time you seeing it being on the podium when it's time to read it during Sabbath service. That's not what you want. You want the first time you reading it to be, you know what I mean, on Thursday. You know what I mean? It's the best time to read it on Thursday. And then, so when you get to Friday night Lashawan Qadash class, you can have questions. You can, you know what I mean, be prepared to read it during Lashawan Qadash class and all of that. You can get your answer. You can get your questions answered and all of that. And then Sabbath service, you'll have your questions answered, your confusions cleared up. And then you can go into Sabbath service with confidence. So this is not your first time reading it. So when you see certain things, you can just be like, okay, this was broken down in class. So I know this is what this is. Like we went over the word for family over and over. Mashapach. Mashapach is family. Mashapach. So whenever you see that long word, instead of being intimidated by it, you can break it down. Like, okay, Mashapach is family. So now all you got to do is just add the prepositions and the possessives or the tenses and go from there. But you see that on the first time, you know what I mean, without practice or anything like that, then you're going to be intimidated and then you just go, you know what I mean, you're going to be through. But Salakia, you know what I mean, with that, you can go ahead in class. I'm saying I imagine, which means to stand. You'll say, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. The Division of Mazar Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahabah, Shem Yahushua Barakatum, Yajim Matah. Sorry, we're going to turn the face to sisters. We're going to turn the face to sisters, give a courtesy salute to the sisters. The Division of Mazar Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Shemar Latham, Ba Shem Yahushua, Yajim Matah. Class dismissed.